Fox News went after the idea of free college with some terrible arguments. Let's take a look.
I want to talk about the fairness issue of wiping out school debt first, because it's something that Democrats usually scream about is fairness, fairness, fairness. But Liz Warren, when she was on a campaign trail back in January, she went to Iowa. She was confronted by a working class American about the issue of school debt. Take a listen, and I want to get your reaction.
My daughter's getting out of school. I've saved all my money. She doesn't have any student loans. Am I going to get my money back? Of course not. So you're going to pay for people who didn't save any money, and those of us that did the right thing get screwed.
No, it's not anybody got screwed. When we started,
of course we did. My buddy had fun, bought a car, went on vacations. I saved my money. He made more than I did. But I worked a double shift, worked extra. My daughter's worksheet is 10. So you're laughing. Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing. We did the right thing, and we get screwed.
I appreciate
That's
it.
all right.
Wow, that's a lot of people think that might have cost her the nomination, Steve. There were other things, of course, but the fact that this guy and millions of other Americans worked their fingers to the bone, double shifts, saving, paying off their kids' school debt, and he says, am I going to get my money back? There is a fairness issue to all this, isn't there?
Yes, there is, David, and it makes people who paid their debts, took their obligations seriously, look like fools. And if they have this debt forgiveness of any kind of scale, you're going to have people wondering, why should I pay those obligations? Why should I take those extra jobs? Why should I sacrifice a private university to go to an in-state university to save money and honor my obligations? So you make a mockery of people who played by the rules.
I'm honestly amazed that, number one, anybody would make this argument, but number two, they would actually catch on with a number of people. And I really wouldn't expect it, because it doesn't take that much thought to realize how absurd this idea is. So, I mean, their argument is effectively, hey man, we can't make things better because then it's not fair to the people who were subject to the shittiness. So everybody needs to be subject to the shittiness, or else it's unfair. You could literally use that argument against anything. Like indentured servitude, for example. Hey, you want to end indentured servitude? I don't think that's very fair to the people who were indentured servants. You know, go talk to the people who were indentured servants. They went through it all. What are you going to tell them now, that they were suckers for going through it all because you want to end indentured servitude? It's not fair. Everybody should have to go through indentured servitude. Sorry. Everybody should have to go through it. That's what that argument is. Here's another example. This one's great because it really shows you perfectly what this means. Hey, we have 270,000 Americans who died from COVID-19, and you wanted to create a vaccine to save lives of people. Is that fair to the 270,000 people who died from COVID? That doesn't seem very fair now, does it? They already died from COVID. So anybody who gets it from here on out, they should get the same experience. Maybe you die, maybe you don't. But hey, at least it's fair because everybody's treated the same. You didn't get very good treatment early on. You don't get very good treatment now. You want to create a vaccine. That's wildly unfair to the people who died from COVID. That's what this argument is. That's what this argument is. Now, imagine a parent saying this about their kid. A first-generation immigrant. They came from a country that was at war, and they had to hop on a boat in the year 18-something and come across the ocean and almost died and got sick and all that stuff. Imagine telling that person, I want your kids to have the exact same experience as you every step of the way. What would they say? They'd be like, no, the whole point of me coming here, I wanted to create a better life, not just for myself, but also for future generations. I don't want them to have to struggle as much as I've struggled because I don't think it was good. I don't think struggling as much is good. I wanted to escape it. People would say, are you crazy? I want what's better for my kids. So why should it be any different for your neighbor's kids? Or the person who lives down the block, their kids? It shouldn't be any different. So perhaps at some point you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, maybe I'm just a shitty person if I don't want to eliminate student loan debt for people. Because, by the way, it's also just a matter of principle, right? Like, I don't think medical debt should exist as a matter of principle. It should never exist. You shouldn't maybe go bankrupt because you have to pay medical bills. I think that's stupid. The whole thing shouldn't exist. That whole concept, that whole idea. Same thing for student loan debt. You know, we have free schooling up to a certain point. That's what public schools are. If you go to a public school, you're effectively getting free at the point of service school. You know, we did it elementary school, middle school, high school. That's what it was. The idea of free college is just go one step further with that. And the idea of wiping the debt slate clean is, it should have been like this all along. So let's wipe the debt slate clean for these people. I mean, I'm amazed at the arguments. And then the other one, and they didn't say it here, but I've been seeing it a lot lately, even from people I like. They're out there like, this is bailing out like upper middle class. Are you out of your fucking mind? Everybody who's upper middle class or wealthy that I know, their college was paid for by their parents. So they didn't have to take out student loans. Everybody I know who took out student loans, they're either middle class or poor. And so if you bail out those people, you're bailing out the middle class and the poor and effectively just giving them the same kind of opportunity that the upper middle class and the wealthy people had. So what this idea that it's like, yo, it's only upper middle class people who are getting bailed out. What are you talking about? That's not true at all. In fact, the numbers show the exact opposite. It is the middle class and it is the poor who are getting more helped by this. So there's just so many shitty arguments on this front, but perhaps I shouldn't be surprised because there would be no good arguments against eliminating student loan debt in the same way there'd be no good arguments against eliminating medical debt. It's a very basic thing that in a civilized society you can and should take off the table. Education, healthcare, I mean, that's right, in my opinion, that's in the same category as like police existing to make sure people don't murder people and like roads existing, fire department. That's very simple and straightforward. The fact that we still have people contesting with such shitty arguments is really baffling and kind of terrifying to see.